In this paper, we study the interaction between the market, the state, and the family in the financing of long-term care. But what is long-term care? So the term encompasses different types of care for dependent individuals who need help to carry out their daily activities. Providing this type of assistance is labor-intensive and often expensive, especially in severe cases of dependence, calling for nursing home care. Then dependence represents a very large risk, especially for elderly people. Traditionally, the family, spouses and children, has played a major role in the provision of long-term care for the elderly. But individuals cannot fully rely on family help, which is uncertain. For instance, some individuals may not have children, or their children may fail for many reasons to help. Private insurance markets are quite thin, so that the government often steps in. Public transfers to the dependent or public provision of care, such as public nursing homes, are common in many countries. Public policy then plays two important roles: providing insurance against dependence, when insurance markets are not working efficiently, and making sure that individuals that cannot rely on their family still get the long-term care they need. In this paper, we focus on the help of children and assume that children differ in their level of altruism. Our main question is, what is the best way to design a long-term care policy in this context? We compare two common types of policy. The first one consists in providing public transfers on top of family help. This type of policy is referred to as topping up, and one can think about monetary transfers to dependent people as an example. Under the second type of policy, the government steps in substitution of the family, if the family fails to provide any help. This type of policy is referred to as opting out, since to benefit from informal care, people must opt out of public policy. As an example, one can think about public nursing homes. Well, we show that topping up and opting out policies have different effects on informal care from the family. Opting out policies only have the effect of reducing the probability of receiving any help at all from children, but do not affect the amount of care provided by caring children. The topping up policy reduces, on the other hand, not only the probability that children provide care, but also the amount of care provided by caring children. Then one might be tempted to think that opting out always dominates topping up. Well, we show that the answer is not so simple. The opting out policy is, loosely speaking, more efficient because only parents with no informal care receive the transfer, which is efficient. However, under the opting out policy, more children fail to provide any care at all than under the topping up policy. In other words, the opting out policy is a better instrument to ensure against full default of children, but for parents whose children have intermediate levels of altruism, the topping out regime might be better, since these parents will still receive some informal care. So the optimal policy depends crucially on the distribution of altruism among children. If the proportion, for instance, of very altruistic children is large, then an opting out policy is better, since most children still prefer to provide care rather than choosing nursing homes. And the opposite is true if the share of non-altruistic children in the population is large. Well, the design of the optimal policy has heavy consequences on the welfare of both the dependent and the caregivers. Different governments have been experimenting with many different policies when it comes to long-term care, going from monetary transfers. This is the main policy in Italy and France, for instance, to nursing homes or home care provision. This is mostly the case in Northern Europe. The optimal policy is likely to depend on social norms, on family arrangements, and on market institutions. So in this paper, we provide a conceptual framework that can inform policymakers on the design, on the optimal design of long-term care policies. And what we stress is that given the role played by the family, it is crucial to consider the interaction between public policy and informal care. And what we show is that the ideal public policy should provide coverage for the dependent whose family fails to provide care, without discouraging informal care from caring children or spouses.